Hey everyone, welcome back to GL Spinners. So like the title of this video said, today we're doing something a little different and we're taking a look at micro spinners. So micro spinners have been really popular lately, and as you can see, I've also bought into them. I've got a pretty good sample size of them here and wanted to give you an idea of which ones I recommend and also how I rank the ones in my collection. But the first thing I want to point out is that while this is not an exhaustive list, I did exclude some. Here I've got the Zentry Nano and the Busy Minds Nano, and these aren't on this list. The reason is I feel like they're one size larger than a micro spinner. To me, they kind of fall into the mini spinner category, and eventually I'll get around to doing a mini melee video as well, but I just didn't feel like these fell into that micro size. So, like I said, here I've got 8, and again, while there are probably other micro spinners out there, I feel like this is a pretty good sampling. The first thing I'm going to do is DQ a couple of them. So the Spinetta Y Micro. It's not a bad spinner, but the X Micro is also in this group, and I feel it's the superior version. The X to me spins better, and I prefer its quad arm design to the tri-arm of the Y. So for me, there was no reason to include the Y. Another one that I'm going to immediately disqualify is the Yardwork Dab. I picked up the raw version of it, but as you can tell, I pulled the 608 bearing out, I tossed the plastic caps in the trash, and replaced it with a Kong. It gets DQ'd because it's the only one that I've modified, and I just don't feel like it's a good comparison. With that being said though, I really love this spinner. The frame has a great design, and when you put the Kong inside of it, the spin is great compared to the 608. The Kong also adds some extra weight, which I really like. But again, as this is kind of 2 spinners in one, I dropped it from the list because it's not a real comparison of the original. So we're already down to 6, but let's go ahead and rank them. So the first one coming in at the bottom is going to be the Steampunk Fat Boy Nano. 2 reasons this one comes in last. First off, value. This spinner was 70 bucks. It's not a lot of material, and it's also not an exotic metal. I mean, honestly, it's a copper frame with brass buttons, nothing special, and I just don't think it's worth it. The other negative on this one is the design. It's pretty plain, pretty basic. While the original Fat Boy was very thick compared to other spinners, the Fat Boy Nano isn't. There are plenty of other spinners that are much thicker. So overall for me, the Nano just falls short. It's too expensive with too little design. Alright, moving on. Number 5 on my list is the Tsunami by Flyaway Toys. I'm a fan of Flyaway Toys, and I think they make really nice spinners, and while the Tsunami is well made, I just don't care for it. I haven't done a full video on it, but let me explain why it ranks so low. The design of the Tsunami, while I think it looks cool and produces a cool spin effect, just isn't that great for fidgeting. The edges are rounded, but the corners here are a little bit sharp. And despite being rounded, when they hit your fingers, it's kind of annoying. And I think that's a big point for micro spinners. I feel like they need to be very fidgetable. So while the Tsunami may have my favorite buttons out of the entire group, if it's not a fidgetable spinner, it's gonna rank low. So that puts the Tsunami down at number 5. So moving on, coming in at number 4 is going to be the Spinetta X Micro. This is the first one that gets my recommendation. A big reason for that is its value. This version runs at $24, but they start at $22. I think the X is a good micro spinner, but here's what holds it back. The arms on it are just like the original. They're still rough. I can't come up with a good reason why Spinetta didn't use this opportunity to smooth out the arms and the corners on this spinner. It was the perfect chance to go ahead and fix it. But on the bright side, they did use their standard size buttons, so they are fairly large, and they've got texturing on both sides. But I just can't get over the fact that the arms are still rough. I can't rank it any higher because of that. Again, I do want to say though, I do recommend the X Micro. If you like the standard X, you'll like the Micro version. I just wish they had modified it some. So now we're down to the top 3. If you don't recognize them, I'll go ahead and name these off. This is the Kepler Mini, you've got the Soul Spin from Spinner Addicts, and then you've got the Boomerang Micro from 2R Designs. And the Boomerang Micro is going to come in at number 3. I just did a full review on this one, and it's great for fidgeting. The machining on it is done really well. It's all smooth everywhere, and it feels great in hand. The buttons on it are kind of small, but you can still get a nice pinch grip on them. And I did have to clean the bearing as it did have some residue in it, but overall I think it's a good micro spinner. What keeps this one at number 3 is the price though. At $55, it's just a little bit on the high side, but it feels so nice in the hand. That's what kept it high on the list. Like I said in my review video though, if you've got the Mini Pro, that might be the better version of the design. But if you don't have that and want a nice stainless steel micro spinner, this one really is a good option. So now we're down to 2. Go ahead and put your guess down below as to which one you think I'm going to pick as number 1. I'd like to see how many people guess it right. So quick little drum roll, and the Kepler Mini comes in at number 2. This one is easily the best value out of all the micro spinners on the list. The Kepler Minis range in price from $16 to $18, and all the edges on it are rounded nicely. The buttons are deep concave with texturing on both sides, and the design's nice. It's a tri-arm spinner, but I like the look of it. It's got 3 cutouts on each arm, and to top it off, it fidgets really well. I like the spin, and I mean honestly, it's a great micro spinner. If you are in the market for a micro spinner and not sure if you're gonna like it, this is the one to try. I mean, this one can really allow you to test the waters because it is so inexpensive. This is the rainbow version, but they've also got it in brass, stainless steel, and black. The one downside that keeps this one from the top is its weight. It's a little bit light for my taste, but I mean, because of the value and the spin, it still comes in at number 2. So that obviously leaves number 1 as the Soul Spin. So why did this one top my list? Well, first off, it's got really large buttons for a micro spinner. They're concave and very, very deep. And this gives you a really great grip on it. It's also got a unique design. I mean, it's got 5 arms, and I like the way it looks. One of the other parts about it is it's also the thickest micro spinner I own. With this thick design, it gives it a really nice weight. So despite being so small, it honestly feels hefty. The spin on it is really nice and balanced, and with those buttons, it's really easy to hold. And I mean, I think in hand it's just really fidgetable. Overall, I just really like the way this one feels, and with the differences in the design, that is what pushed it up to the top. So again, the Soul Spin coming in at number 1. Alright, so let's round out the top 3 again. You've got the Soul Spin at 1, I got the Kepler Mini at number 2, and the Boomerang Micro coming in at number 3. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Did your favorite micro spinner make the list? Is there one I don't have that should have been on the list? And again, I want to point out the dab. If it came like this out of the box, it honestly probably would have been at the top of the list. But with having to make the modifications myself, it just didn't seem fair. I also want to mention that I didn't include the Kong on the list. While it's an interesting micro spinner, I feel like it's amazing as an adapter. But If you've got any questions, put them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you like the video, be sure and give me a thumbs up as it helps. And if you want to see more spinner content reviews, be sure and subscribe. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.